what you were looking for. So,
Nope.
yeah. But I'm Toren Reaves, by the way.
Toren, Corey Rosen. Pleasure
to meet you. Yeah. So,
here.
what brings you into town? Or this is where you're from?
I grew up here, so this is my hometown.
Okay.
I was raised here. I went to nursery school at the JCC. This is
Really?
my foundation.
Okay.
This building, this place, this community. I now live in San Francisco, California, and I've lived there for 30 some years, and I come back as often as I can. My parents still live here. My brother lives here. My other brother lives in New York City.
Okay.
And we are all home this week.
Nice.
For an event that I'm doing today at the JCC, but also there's something going on like in my parents' lives. They're moving out of their house. So there's this other sort of story that is unfolding, which is about them and like our family, which is going through that kind of transition, because they've lived in that house not since I was born, but like shortly after I was born, like 50 years or so. So that's a long answer to your question, but that's
how are they feeling about it?
You know what? Surprisingly, I think they're kind of project people. So even though it's their house, which is like, the place that's their home, they're sort of enjoying it. Is that weird to say? And I think it's a lot of process, but they've been going through themselves, getting rid of things, donating things, selling things that are, of value, Facebook Marketplace, just like sort of like rehoming, rehousing stuff that they've got that they've kind of collected over the years, and things that we've sort of said, I don't really have room for that in my San Francisco apartment, but they are finding, and there's this kind of mix of joy of like letting things go, and the sort of sentimentality of like, oh, that was it almost represents a moment.
Is there anything that they've sold or put up to sell that has surprised you in one way or the other? Like, not my baseball cards. Like, is there anything that kind of falls in that line?
Good question. So in November, we came home, me, my wife, Jenny, and I have 2 kids. And we came back here to Rochester, and we were doing Thanksgiving and spending that week together. And my dad decided to post on one of the sites, their piano for sale, which is, it's a big thing. And if you've ever had a piano or tried to get rid of a piano, you know that it's actually a very difficult thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
Most of the time people who have pianos, it's like, you think like, oh, I'm going to sell this. And then you find like nobody wants to pay for it. You end up giving it away. Yeah. Even sometimes like I had a piano a long time ago that I had to pay the mover to take it. It's the opposite of and the fact that they posted it in the first place felt strange to me and my brother, who's a songwriter who learned to play piano on that piano. And it's like this thing that like when I come home, a lot of people's pianos become like a shelf to put their pictures on or whatever, but it's actually used. Like we play the piano. We have books of, fake books of Broadway songs and pop songs that we like to sing and stuff. But that week they decided to post the piano for sale, and they got a bite. Like somebody wanted it. I think in part because they posted a video of my brother, the songwriter, playing on it. Yeah. So maybe they were like, oh, songwriter. Anyway, I don't know what the ad was, but it's good marketing. Anyway, it like triggered all these emotions. Like my brother sat down like the night before the person came to look at it, and like played through like the score of like an entire show that he had written. Oh, wow. He just wanted to like have that moment. And my parents sat down and played the one song that they both could play together, heart and soul. Like she played the top part, he played the bottom part. And it was like this moment of like them saying goodbye to things, which kind of iconified in some way like this whole process of like, we have these things, but they're just things, and letting go of them, and like kind of like remembering the things that we had is part of the process. But the most special and maybe surprising part of the whole thing for me was that the woman who came and bought it was, in a weird way, like my family 40 years ago. It was like a young mother with 3 boys. My mother and father had 3 sons. So she has 3 boys, 3 young children, and she wants them to learn to love music the way that she did. So it actually felt the next day when like the moving truck came and they loaded the piano and took it away, that it wasn't the end of an era where it was like this transformation,
Yeah.
the beginning of their story, the beginning of that life. So instead of feeling sad about it, it was like one of these like very surprisingly uplifting moments of getting rid of something, but also seeing it living again, like planting a garden and watching the flowers, the seeds spread. So.
Was that something that you identified feeling in real time, or did it take you a couple weeks? Like, I know for me, like when I get overwhelmed with stuff like that, it's like, oh, I'm like an asshole for 2 days. And then I realize like, oh, I was going through all this. Like now I'm unpacking it, but it sounds like maybe in real time, you had your finger on the pulse.
I was kind of, I mean, we were all kind of feeling it, but I wasn't just like you were saying. That's a good observation. I wasn't just lost in the emotion and feeling it and then later reflecting on it.
Yeah.
I think because this is a process that's been going on of getting rid of things. Like my children were also going around the house and I gave them like little slips of like, Post-it notes. I was like, if there's things that you want to like have or something, not that you're necessarily going to get it, but like write your initials on it or something. And so they just started like filling the house, like all these little posters and, like a picture frame, like just like little things that they were like, oh, I'd like this. And so I think because of that process, we all started to kind of like reflect in the moment. We were like, now you're looking at things that you ignore, that you see every day that you don't really notice. Now you're like looking at like, oh, there's this bank or this, object, even if it was something that like we had made for them as kids or that they had bought somewhere in their lives. And I think in general, it's kind of nice to have moments of reflection, just to kind of like look at what's going on and find ways of reacting, appreciating, in part because that's what I do for my job. Like I'm a storyteller. I help people tell their stories. So it's weird when I'm in my own story, I observe it, I kind of notice it, and I start to become aware of the fact that like, this is happening and there's a story going on. Like I see it. And not that I'm like living outside of it, but I have this little maybe perspective of like experiencing it and reflecting on the experience at the same time.
In terms of helping other people tell their stories, do you find that you're delivering a practice that you've observed in your own life, or is it vice versa, where you're like, you've developed this sort of checklist or process for storytelling that in your own life you go, oh, here's the practical application of that? Or does it derive from you? Like, are you giving people advice from your lived experience and helping them navigate their own storytelling? Or are the practices you've put in place something that you almost reverse engineer into your own day to day?
Great question. I think a bit of both. I mean, I like to be very specific with people, like when I do like coaching and things like that. Because sometimes people will come to me and ask for like help with like, I want to tell a story for some specific reason. Like I'm a maid of honor or something in a wedding, and I want to not suck, because we've all heard that toast, like the very terrible toast at the wedding kind of thing.
My wedding has an infamous maid of honor or matron of honor speech, but yes, continue.
I might need to hear it later.
Yeah.
But the idea of that, of like a specific thing, of like a purpose driven thing about a specific story or speech or something. And I'm not a therapist, like, so my work can sort of seem like therapy, but it's not therapeutic.
Because it's a catharsis that's delivered through the end. So in a way, it is probably by definition therapeutic, if not necessarily therapy per se.
Well said. Well said. And that's, I think the idea is that people will come with like some idea, some purpose, and I'll help them with that, of like, well, let's look at it not as like, like bad thing that happened or a scary thing that happened or wonderful thing that happened, but like, let's look at the story. Like, how do we look at this? How do we frame this as a story? And I think in my own life and kind of my own practice, it's the same kind of thing. It's a kind of like journaling or meditation or just self-awareness, is like when you start to look at things as not just a thing that happened, but as part of a story. And sometimes we're in the middle of the story. Sometimes that story happened a while ago, but we can put some meaning on it. We can look at that with the lens of like, oh, now my wisdom, now my experience makes me see things that way. An example of that might be that like you're a parent, like as a dad, you get to watch and observe and experience your kids going through all kinds of things. things, you know, wonders and pains and heartbreaks and you know, highs and lows throughout their lives. And as a parent, one of my earliest and first kind of realizations was kind of a understanding that like, oh, my parents were just making it up.
Yeah.
Like, I think I thought as a kid that my parents were somehow wise in the ways of parenting, that they just kind of knew how to be parents, because I think they were good at it.
Yeah.
But
seems like it.
Yeah. When I became, they'll be happy to hear that. When I became a parent, I was like, oh no, like this is all just improvised. Like you're just making it up. And how do we make it up is by referencing back to like, what did I do? So sometimes I'll tell a story about like something that my kid is going through, and then I will reflect on when I was that age, something that happened to me. And then from that memory, from that place, I'll come back with like, and here's how I parented through that moment. Yeah. So it was something that was about them, but it was also about me.
Yeah. Do you find that, especially in terms of having children, because I think I had a very similar experience where it was the first point in my life where my experience of time was really nonlinear, where it's like in every moment I'm thinking about what its impact will have on them in the future, how they're reacting to it right now, and a past experience of mine, like kind of all at once. And it's very messy. And then helping people identify where along the continuum their story is that sometimes challenging, or what challenges does that present where people may come to you with a really what they think is a clear idea of where in the timeline of their life this story is, or if it's at the beginning, middle, of the end, and then working with you they realize that that place isn't necessarily where they thought. Is that how do you kind of overcome, I think, maybe massaging out those preconceived notions that people come to you with?
Great. I love the way that you're asking these questions too, because it opens up sort of like the realm of like lived experience and communicating those experiences, because that's kind of how we all as humans process, I think. And in ways like we're all dealing with those memories of what happened, of how we're dealing with it in the now, and then our projection or anticipation of some future. So both our timeline, our lifespan, and then the people around us, our circles and the circles beyond those circles, it's complex. When it comes to communicating that, it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. And so as a person who also like curates and hosts like shows like the Moth and things like that, they're like people telling their stories. Something that I observe is when people try to tell too much, and they try to overload a story with all the information, it becomes overwhelming. It becomes too much to process, because we're not you. We don't have the context and the neural network that understands what you're talking about. But in a weird way, by narrowing and saying, I'm just going to tell you about this one thing that happened, this one moment, this one incident with my daughter parenting through this thing, that the specificity of that can then also kind of like cast like almost like light rays into other parts of yourself.
It could just be a Facebook ad of an older man playing the piano in his parents' house.
Yeah.
And that 15 seconds is the story,
and is enough for me to then maybe can make a connection to myself, to my own parents, to your experience, to what music means to you, to what like to object permanence and letting go. Like, yes. So the specificity of a person playing a piano can actually trigger emotions, memories, and connection. Yeah. So I think that's the same thing that good stories do, is that you don't have to tell me everything. I like to say every story shouldn't be every story. Yeah. You know, like don't tell me everything that's ever happened every time, because then it's going to be more clutter of like, I have more questions and curiosity about all those other things than about what you want or trying to tell me.
If they say like what's the expression, the medium is the message, for certain stories, when you're hearing them or working with somebody, do you have in your mind like, okay, this person's coming to me thinking of this as a novel, but maybe it's a painting on the side of a Grecian urn, and maybe sort of that permanence and very vertical slice of time where there isn't any motion, maybe that's the best way to convey this story. Like, how do you kind of, I guess, curate the pantheon of mediums that you're probably aware of to kind of fit not only the story that's being shared with you, but the person who wants to express it. Because I think
Oh yeah.
everybody comes to you probably thinking this is a 6-part epic, when
Right.
really, this might be best served in a photograph. Maybe
Absolutely.
you already
Or an
have told the
anime,
story.
like this could be a children's book. This could be a song.
Yeah.
We are lucky to live in a world, I think, that has like a lot of possibilities. Like we can
Yeah.
express ourselves in different ways, and it can be overwhelming, but it's also been my experience that I try not to make things too precious, especially at the outset of creating something or like coming up with the idea or developing the idea. I think when you have an idea of something, it's easy to kind of try to picture it as the finished thing, the
Yeah.
$100 million movie or TV series or whatever. But sometimes you can just prototype it in some very straightforward way. You can make a puppet version of it. Like I had a friend who was running years ago. She wanted to run for public office, and she had no money. She wanted to make a big commercial campaign. And so that was how I helped her prototype it. Literally just took puppets and just made like a little, took her ideas and had 2 puppets talking about it. And it was really weird. And she didn't use it, which I disagreed with that because I was like, you know what? I would watch that. If that showed up in my social media feed, it would look different than everybody else's advertising. And so like, but is what she had a budget for is like, we can make puppets and tell your story in a way that gets people's attention. So yeah, sometimes I think it's exciting to explore how else could this be told or made other than maybe in traditional formats. And what's I think unique and weirdly specific about storytelling is that it takes nothing. It just takes you just talking. So whether it's one-on-one storytelling or like on a stage in a bookstore, a cafe, or a theater or whatever, it's like it doesn't take much to make it happen. And then you would be surprised how many people have stories that want to kind of come up and share their stories, because through that, through just using your words, through painting kind of word pictures, we feel, we remember, we connect, and it takes big rooms of people and makes them feel small.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you're on the onset of a project, are you trying to maybe coach people on the possibility of how their story is received? Because I think everybody, at the end of the speeches in their mind, it's to an audience that's standing up and clapping.
Yeah.
But sometimes your story's either too niche, or I found that the most impactful stories I'm told kind of take a while to detonate, where it's like, years later, I'm putting laundry away and I go, oh, like I think I learned a lesson. Like, I probably should have listened to my dad back in '96, because he was definitely right. Like, how do you incorporate sort of what to anticipate? Because I feel like for people who are new to storytelling, that can be probably one of the biggest misnomers or misconceptions that they have, is that it's received with the love with which it was told.
Yeah, it's a great challenge, I think, for people, is about that. And I think that something that you hit really well is the idea of who am I telling this to and why. There's this thing, Simon Sinek has this sort of framework that he's done like a very popular TED talk about, sort of like the what, how, why kind of structure and framework about like, this is what I'm talking about, this is how it happened, and this is why I'm talking about it. Why is kind of like, it's framed like a target, like concentric circles. And if the why is just because I would feel better to say this, then it's a very personal thing. If the why is like a message that I want people to take action, I want people to understand that. If it's a speech at a wedding or something like that, the why shouldn't be like, oh my God, we had so many great times together. You guys wouldn't even understand. Remember that time? That was the best. It's like, then we're all outsiders to this. But if the why is so that you can kind of learn about that person, most people come to a wedding, they know one half of the couple and one half of the collective of people. But like a good wedding for me, kind of a good funeral. I mean, is it weird to say that? But like a good funeral, you actually walk away and you learn like, oh my gosh, you have this appreciation of them as a couple or as a person, of their life, of their experience, of who they were through this kind of, collage of moments, of stories, of experiences. And so that's where, again, like story kind of helps to fit those puzzle pieces together to create this tapestry of that, so that if you are aware of the why, of why am I telling this? What do I want to achieve? Is it to make a sale? Is it to, land the date or what, whatever it is, it's like there's something that you are communicating. And if the person that you're talking to can get something from that, then it's going to be more impactful than if it's just about me. I'm just saying, oh, this is something that happened to me, and doesn't that suck? Then you're gonna be like, yeah, that sucks, and then there's nothing.
As an expert in dealing with people who have this compulsion to tell a particular story, how often do the circles of the Venn diagram of what they express to you as the why versus what the why actually is, how much does that overlap? And are there any whys that you find particularly interesting and vice versa disinteresting?
Well, the thing about stories in general in our experiences, sometimes we don't see that why.
I think most people don't.
Most people don't.
Think that they do. Probably the stronger your conviction is, the less accurate you probably are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question that comes up more and more often than not is, what's this story really about? People will tell you something, they'll do something, they'll tell you about something that happened, but it's like, this isn't just a story about finding parking at Trader Joe's. Like, oh my God, I had so much trouble finding parking at Trader Joe's, but then I found that there's this secret parking lot across the street. It's like, this is not a story about finding parking at Trader Joe's. It's a story about ingenuity, about curiosity, about looking beyond where everybody else goes. Like, I don't know, there's sometimes a story, even something relatively mundane, is about something else.
Their own surprise at taking a chance and being rewarded for it instantly.
Yes. So, like, I had that happen to me the other day. So last week, I live in San Francisco, and there's this area that all the tourists go to, right? Every big city has like the sort of place where like the cruise ship drops you off or whatever. It's called Fisherman's Wharf.
Oh, I've been down there with the In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out Burger, and then there's I
enjoyed myself over there.
Bakery, There's the sea lions all hang out.
I ordered about $40 of In-N-Out by myself and sat with my legs dangling over the pier and just watched the sunset while I was just putting French fries in one after another.
It's gorgeous.
It was a perfect evening.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And no locals go there.
No.
Not that it's bad, but it's just like, that's where the tourists go because it's a lovely, beautiful thing. But it's just like, it's a place that it's like the sort of like confluence of like restaurants and sort of, attractions and things. It's a convenient, easy, safe place for people to go. So
you want to know how I knew I was in a touristy area? And this is like my barometer for if I'm in a touristy spot, the number of people who squint at their phone and then up at like what their surroundings are. That's that entire area. Like everybody's double checking that they haven't veered off the path. Even like if they just looked up, they'd see the In-N-Out Burger that we all are there for.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Because here's the situation. So I'm there because a friend of mine is in from New York. She's visiting with her family, so I meet her for lunch. But then I have to go to work. So I leave there, I'm walking, and there's a lady squinting at her phone, like looking down at her phone. She's lost, and I'm just like a good citizen. And so I go, can I help you? And she's like, oh, I'm trying to find the train. Am I at the train stop or something? Like, she was looking for like the Muni is what we call it, like the public transit, like the, what do they call it? Streetcar.
Oh, the trolley?
Not the ding ding, not like that streetcar, but like the one that's like people take.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like looking, and she's clearly, I'm like, there's no train tracks here, so you're definitely not where the train is. But I see there's some over there, and I don't know this area that well. I see some over there, and I see, oh, and there's a train right there. And I go, there's your train. And she's like looking at her phone, and I can see that she's like in the map app, and that she's looking, and it's going to be like an hour-long drive to get where she's going. Not a drive, an hour-long ride on the train. She's got the thing pulled up, and she's like kind of frustrated because she's trying to get somewhere and they're going to close. It's like some art studio or something she's trying to get to. And she's a complete stranger, but I go, do you want to ride? Like, I'm kind of heading in that direction, and she's a stranger and whatever. I don't know this lady from anything, but I'm just like, would you like a ride? I'm heading that way because I'm going to work, and I'm kind of heading down that direction. And she was like, yes, I would love a ride. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. But it's just like, start to now.
Sane enough to drive a car.
Yeah, right. So we like walk around the corner. She gets in my car, and it's actually my son's car. He's home from college, and it's dirty, it's filthy Subaru. And I'm like moving jumper cables from like the front seat to the, like, it's literally just like a mess. I'm like apologizing, but she's like, oh no, my son just moved here. He just graduated college and he got a job. So that's why I'm here. She said, no, not me, her son.
To her, yeah.
And I'm like, my son's interning. So now we're connecting. We're parents. We found like a circle that we're like, we have something in common. We start chit chatting about her work, about my work. We start talking about storytelling. She's like, oh, have you written anything? And I'm like, yeah, I've written some books. She's like, oh, they're on Amazon? I go, yeah. I go, I actually have them in the back. I like pull my book out. She ends up telling me stories about herself. She's crying.
Oh, wow.
She's talking about like difficult experiences. This is a complete stranger.
Yeah.
10 minutes earlier. Now we're sitting in the car.
Ironically, that probably makes it easier.
It might.
Because she knows in the back of her head somewhere, like, I'm never seeing her again.
Yes.
Yeah, I can say whatever I want. Yeah.
She doesn't know me.
He's the psychopath that offered me a ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, and then through that, because she was telling me about like a difficult experience she'd gone through, like a bad marriage, a bad breakup, and all that kind of stuff. And I framed it in kind of a way that I like, not like to, but like I can sometimes look at those stories as like, I look at it as a story. How do we zoom out from that? Like, what's the 10,000 foot view of like, this isn't a story about being a victim or being experiencing trauma or like a lot of things that people experience, but like, how did you get through it? How are you stronger because of it?
Resilience.
Who are you because of that? And she's like, you're right. Yes, because she's this powerful woman. She's got her own company now. She's got a son that she's taking care of, like all this stuff. And like by the end of that car ride, I drop her off at this art gallery. She buys 3 copies of my book, like 2 for herself, 1 for her son. And it was like just this moment of like, oh my God, like people need to tell their stories. That's just my like validation of like the stuff that I like to do is just like, isn't it great to just talk to humans?
What does that do, or what effect does that interaction have on you, where here's this woman who is resilient, who cared enough about her son to help him get through college, mentioned his success at the onset of a conversation, was trusting enough, if not in you, in her own abilities to navigate getting in the car with you and going someplace, that it took bumping into you for her to have the epiphany that I am a strong person. Like, what effect does that have? Because to me, it's like, man, I wish that didn't come as a surprise. But for you, what is that like? Does it have an effect?
Well, kind of. I mean, I think the safe path in life is to say no. Like I see a lady on her phone, like you said, like you can always tell the tourists because they're squinting on their phone. Safe path is like, have a nice day, good luck. She'll get where she needs to go. Like, that's not my problem. Like, I think we spend a lot of time leaving people alone.
Is it the safe path if she hadn't gotten in the car and she has to carry that baggage for another day, another week, another year? What was safer? Getting in the car with you and having some moment of realization, or carrying that for another second?
Well, in the end, she didn't know she was going to have that experience.
Of course not. Yeah.
In a sense, getting in the car is the unsafe thing, right? It's a stranger. It's the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, we go through life feeling unsure, feeling unsafe, feeling, and thinking that saying no is the path to safety.
Yeah.
Which it generally is. Like when we say no, it's like it's a boundary. And saying yes is not always the path to good things. It could be the path to trouble. It could be the path to adventure. It could be the path to love and discovery.
Yeah.
So I think in general, I try to take the yes path. Like I try to say like what might happen if I sit down with
I think the possibility is the safety, where like you said, the boundary to me it is exactly that. It can become a prison. I'd rather say yes and have the unknown than have the certainty of carrying what I'm carrying, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And so I think
which might be a reason to say yes more.
Yeah.
Because like we're all carrying things, and things that we're conscious of, things that we're unconscious of. And when we say yes, it challenges us.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're carrying that you want to let go of, even in the abstract?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we all are. I mean, there are things that I'm probably unaware of. Like I'm not like walking around saying like, I hope I get asked about this so that I can unload that. It's like, I don't know until those moments show up.
Yeah.
And then it's this awareness, this sort of mirror shows up. And again, that's where I think that like looking at life through these lenses of stories, like, oh, is there a story in this? Is a way also of helping me to not only process it, get through it, but also remember it. Like make it a learning, make it a teaching, make it a something I can come back to and tell my kids about or help them with, like You know, how old are your kids?
I've got one who's 4 and another one who's 5 months.
So, oh wow, baby.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the sibling situation,
Yeah.
because that's having a baby show up is a
Both
technically
girls.
a traumatic experience for the 4-year-old. Like
she's great. She
Is
loves
she?
her. Yeah, she's
Is
all
she?
hands on. She's really she's super sweet in that way. She doesn't seem to, at least yet, have any of the sort of or has navigated through any of the pitfalls that a typical older sibling should
Yeah.
have. But we've been very intentional with how much attention, what type. If Penelope, our youngest, is getting a bunch of attention, Margot, like the other parent, will sort of compensate
Yeah.
for the diversion and attention. But our
Nice.
oldest daughter, Margot, she's like a force of nature,
Yeah.
and she's 4 going on 22 already. And so she's handled it really well. Like I'm always surprised by how much she wants to hug her sister all the time, and like wants to play with her constantly. Like it hasn't seemed to be the cause of any sort of friction whatsoever.
That's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
when they're older, we'll see. But I always my style of parenting, because I was the naughty kid and my wife is the goody goody. My philosophy is that the act is the punishment. So instead of trying to be punitive after the fact with scolding or sitting in timeout, it's like, you already did the thing that harmed you.
Yeah.
That was the punishment. You put your hand on the stove. Me being mad about it's not going to do anything other than just make you more reluctant to tell me in the future. So how can I be supportive and go, okay, you put your hand on the stove. Let's talk through why we don't do that again, and let's try to make this better. So that's been my process. And I think because punishment is so not a worry that our oldest daughter carries, she's much more likely to try things. And with our youngest daughter, she wants to incorporate her into the new, which is everything, because she's 4. So
wow, that's really interesting and telling about, I think, the person that she's becoming too.
Yeah.
As an explorer, as an adventurer, and also as an older sibling, which is a role of responsibility for her.
It
Seems
is.
like she's already kind of starting to pick up on that.
Yeah, she loves it. What about your kids? You have one who's in college now.
So my kids are older. I have an 18 and 20-year-old. So I'm at this other transition in my life, which is like, and to people like you, I say, it goes faster than you think. Like you're in these magical years. I mean, 4 year, like,
she had her pre-K graduation this past week. Oh, I had my sunglasses on. I was crying nonstop. Like, Dad, I'm not built for that. I don't know how do you deal with graduation?
High school graduation, which I had 2 weeks ago.
How's that feel?
Watching
my
youngest child graduate from high school, and like knowing that like my wife and I are technically empty nesters. Now the irony is they're both living under my roof and in my house.
The dynamic changes.
The dynamic does.
I'm
change.
Grown now, Dad.
Yes, yeah, grown, and there's like quiet in the house. Like my wife and I, like we are together the way that we were before we had children.
Yeah, it's
like this thing, and so now it's this like reconnection.
How you doing?
Of like, what are we going to do with the rest of our lives? You know? And we're not we're young and healthy and able to do things and making plans, and we don't know what that's going to be yet, but this is their graduation, but it also reflects back on like, this is our graduation. Like we have done what we've done as parents. You build the ship and you put it on the river and you kind of let it go, and you know there's going to be waves, there's going to be turbulence, you know there's going to be some unexpected things that happen, and I just hope that the ship finds its way back home. That's, I think, as a parent, all I can do is just know that there's going to be this period now as your kids become people, and that they are going to become their own people, and all we can do is what you just described. You advise, you don't discipline and punish and scare. You help them see what they're going through, and so that now they're going to make their decisions based on what you model. Just like my parents were improvising, I've improvised, you're improvising. We're all figuring it out, and then we're modeling what it is to be a person in this world. Yeah.
With your kids, did you have, I'm sure you did, like those moments where you go, I'm not worried about letting this ship leave the dock. Like I'm confident, like seeing this right now, you're gonna be just fine. Like what moments of those have you had with one of your kids?
I mean, there's always things that happen where, when you're out of the sphere that you can guide them. I've never been helicopter parenty, like trying to tell them what to do and help them with that. But here's an example from when my kid was starting kindergarten. So this is closer to your kids' age. So Henry, my older child, my son, he had gone to kindergarten at this public school in San Francisco called Rooftop Elementary, which is, a K through 8 school. And his teacher was great. Miss Cruz was the kind of teacher that when you showed up on the first day, like all the parents, all the nervous parents are like waiting at the door, taking their pictures and everything. And she was like, okay, parents, now go away.
Yeah.
Like, I got this. Like, she didn't let any of the parents in to help out. Some teachers are like, oh yeah, come on in and help. And it's like, it creates this like sustained kind of chaos and like lack of attachment. But she took control, and he had a really good kindergarten year. I think he connected with other kids and he kind of grew as a person. And then his second year, his first grade class, it was the first day of class and he got lost. He like went to the bathroom, he like left the classroom, went to the bathroom, and he didn't know where his classroom was. And he got scared. And he's like looking around, and like the school all of a sudden feels big. He's on the upstairs floor where like all the other classrooms are, like the kindergarten is all in the basement, and he doesn't know where to go and he's scared. So he finds his way to his kindergarten classroom, like the one place that he knew that was safe, that he had been before. And Miss Cruz sees him, and instead of saying, oh, let me walk you to the classroom, she just saw him. She was like, Henry, do you want to take a nap? He goes, yeah. So he leads him over to the couch and he just falls asleep. And then she gets on the phone. She calls up to Miss Smith, his teacher. She goes, I got Henry. He's taking a nap on my couch. She's like, all right, thanks for letting me know. And that moment was impactful in a few different ways. First, it showed us about the community that like helped take care of him.
Yeah.
It showed us that he could take care of himself, that he found a way.
He found his way home.
Found his own way home. And then 7 years later, he ran for president of the 8th grade, and he told that story.
Oh, wow.
And he got elected president of his class because it became then for him an example of how the school took care of him. And how he wanted to be just a leader in the school and take care of the school.
So he was grateful enough to want to have some form of reciprocity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's A-okay.
So he's all right.
It's so funny that those moments happen so soon. With our first daughter, Margot, she had really bad acid reflux as an infant and just like would not take formula down. I remember one night, it was maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been fighting all evening for her to just eat something and she wouldn't. Yeah. And so finally I just said like, okay, Google, like play music, and N.W.A came on, like the most hardcore rap ever, started blasting. Her eyes opened up and she just started guzzling. And I had this epiphany where I was like, she's always going to know when she needs what she needs, and she'll do it then. Yeah. And if I try to force it, it won't happen. Yeah. So I'm always going to be a step behind her. And all I can do is just kind of support and create the environment that for whatever reason works for her. And I knew that at 3 months old, and I've never tried to force her to do anything. It's not even worth it. Yeah. It's so weird, like latently, even at that age, she just knew when it was time to do her thing. Yeah. And it took the most obscene rap ever for it to happen. And most parents would be upset, but it's like, if that's what it took for her to feel comfortable, then by the grace of God, she found it. Yeah. As opposed to, us sitting in silence and her not eating for another hour.
I think surprise, the unexpected, like those are kind of also some of the elements that become these great triggers to actual like experiences and to learning and insight. And so things like that is such a great example. And also you told it really well, like as a story, that's a beautiful encapsulation of like a private moment with you and your daughter. And then this experience you had of watching her as a person.
As a person. Yeah. At months old.
At months old, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Corey, I really appreciate your time. Yeah. This has been awesome.
Keep going. I want to just keep going.
Oh, yeah. No, I want to be real intentional. You got a huge day. I want to make sure that you've got what you need to do the stuff later on. Is there any place where people can find you outside of your awesome book, which I will be picking up a copy of and reading and reporting? Yeah, I'll have to get you to sign it for me.
So I have a website that's called, it's the same as the title of my first book. It's yourstorywelltold.com. Okay. And it's got resources. Like I put up there tons of like free resources. There's like activities that people can do to kind of find and tell their own stories. I use a lot of improv games in my work. So there's activities that you can do with your kids, with your family, with your communities, with groups. If you're like, want to like do team building and things like that, and stuff like that. So, and then also you can learn about what I do in terms of coaching and workshops and stuff like that.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right.
How you feeling?